Alright guys, I'm going to jump into some charts for everyone here in a second. Let me get everything pulled up because people were asking for several different tickers. Let's see. Sorry. Also, it's hard not to kind of keep on jamming whenever I start playing the music while y'all are kind of waiting, so hopefully y'all are okay with the music that comes on. So, let's see. Definitely going to take a look at a few things. I want to, for the sake of time, be careful about covering a lot of the charts or setups that really haven't changed much. We could still glance at them just in case somebody missed the previous live stream session or something like that. But for instance, Tesla right now, you can see we're still in the same setup to where it's either going to break out to the upside or downside. So we're just riding along. But definitely want to look at several of the tickers that we ripped out and made new highs on today, especially those like non-major I guess blue chip tickers, if you will, that we pushed higher. But also, before we do that, we gotta look at crypto because y'all know I love some crypto. So, what we've been talking about on all the live streams for the last probably week have been, for one, fear not, crypto is not going anywhere. But today we have this nice big fat green candle on Bitcoin that ripped through. So I would like to see a push to a new high, obviously, but as of right now, we do have a bit of a breakout here. I'll be looking for the confirmation of the breakout on Bitcoin, and that should get us rolling. One of the cryptos that I think it was Tia over on the Discord was talking about, so comp, and this one totally slipped off my radar just because I've been looking at so many lately, but this massive move today on Compound, which is another one of the decentralized finance cryptos, and it's actually tradable on Robinhood. Huge move on Comp today with that breakout. Look at that massive buying volume. So that is a sweet breakout. Definitely checking that out. Let me see. Let me give everybody a second to join in, but also want to make sure that I cover all of the tickers that are on the list. I know that, let's see. I know Susie requested a few. So let's start with Palantir, because I think people are going to get panicky on it, and really there's no reason to. And let me, while I'm right here, do this. So Palantir, this morning we had this huge new breakout to an all-time high. Or did we actually do it during trading hours? I was looking at it in pre-market, thing got sidetracked a bit. So yeah, we were in pre-market whenever we got the breakout, then it sold off at the open, which is fine. If you look at this while everyone is freaking out, today was actually a fantastic opportunity to enter more longs. I'm in quite a few right now, as well as my shares, so I'm patient here. I want to see maybe if we retest again, but you can see there that retest and that bounce at what was the previous resistance was a perfect bounce. That's why it's good to track these historical levels that way. I mean, look at that. We ripped to new highs in pre-market and then literally perfect pullback and bounce there on the 15 minutes. So that's looking solid. I bet you with that, oh, it needed that pullback. That's healthy retracement right there. Solid bounce as long as we maintain good buying volume, which you can see even though it's red because today was a red day, that we maintain solid volume. So we'll see what happens tomorrow into Friday and whether or not Palantir gets sustained buying volume to push it higher. But as of right now, we're in a full-blown bull flag breakout that has now also retested and back tested for the bounce. So Palantir's looking good. I'm staying in my long swings here, definitely staying in my shares, not selling covered calls on my shares at this point. So NVDA also got its nice little bounce in that range. Same thing going on here that I mentioned previously. For me, risk to reward with the price of the contracts just doesn't make sense when there's so many other things right now that I can trade with, the same amount of capital that are probably going to reap 100% plus percent gains, especially within the crypto stock realm, which we'll look at a few of those here in a moment. But NVIDIA as of right now, we're looking to see if this nice little bounce here can sustain for a push higher. We've got good volume, so this is looking good. We'll have to see whether or not it rejects again. I'd be hesitant here. If you want to scalp some calls intraday, if you see good momentum on the 5-minute and 15-minute candles, that's probably a sweet intraday scalp setup. But I would just be careful for swinging it with everything that's kind of uncertain at this point, and the price of the contracts for me, again, risk to reward's just not there. So what was the next ticker? That was the one she had. IWM. We'll look at that because I entered some fresh calls on IWM today. Before that, let's glance at Etsy because Etsy had a nice, sweet little breakout which treated our swing calls well. So look, we got this perfect little breakout of this downtrend or falling wedge, if you will. We got a bit, if you look at the 4 hour, we had a bit of kind of hesitation there, which was totally fine. We haven't technically done a full-blown retrace after the full breakout, but technically, if you're looking at this depending on how you draw your lines, we did break out or attempt to break out and then back test this support zone that was previous resistance. So I wouldn't be sad to see a pullback on Etsy to tag right here before moving higher. That would actually be a healthy move. But I also wouldn't be shocked to see a back test here to just test that previous resistance as support. So, I mean, even without that, 30% gains off just that initial little break on some 2025 swing calls is a sweet little low risk setup ultimately, because the price of those contracts was like $150, which is $150. That's what I'm talking about. Setups like that, 30% plus gains off $150. You can trade more contracts if you want, but you're also not taking the risk of trading $1,000 on a single contract that may or may not shake out immediately. And you're also not tying up as much capital if you don't want to trade as many contracts. So, nice setup on Etsy here. Definitely going to keep watching that because it's got more potential to run. SoFi. Absolutely. SoFi's over here making a perfect little bounce within this bullish pennant here. I want to see it hold that support resistance level at 1610. We'll see what happens, but it's definitely trying to play out yet another bullish pennant, bull flag breakout here, which we're still making the measured move as of right now to that 1752 level from this previous bull flag breakout. So here we are forming yet another one, right? So the measured move on this one actually would be higher, but I'm going to stay conservative at the moment and see what happens here. SoFi looking good. Etsy's looking good. TerraWolf, we'll look at some of the crypto stocks here in a minute because they're all going to be ripping and looking well. We looked at Palantir already. Which others? So Unity Software, that's another good one that we traded well. Hood's holding strong at this point, so we'll see what happens there. Make sure I've got the next ones on the list before I start cranking back on the charts. Tony, I don't hate you, man. I love you. So Palantir breakout, actually beautiful. It was, and I think so many people panicked and bailed out of Palantir so early. And I'm not saying don't lock profits or cover your cost basis minimally, but my Palantir swing calls, those ones from last December, that's probably one of my most profitable cheap trades I've had in the last year and a half, 2 years, because we bought the thing for $83 and it literally hit $3,100 on the contract this week. So that's kind of ridiculous. Those are outliers. That should not be the expectation for all swing trades you take by any means. So please take that into account. Let me look at your list you got here too, Tony, because you do have some overlay with some of the things we're trading as a whole. So PayPal's another good one that, check that out because it got a nice little move earlier today, I believe. Yeah. So if that was what I was wanting to see on PayPal. Remember, just like I mentioned on Palantir, SoFi, and several others, we want to see a big increase of buying volume with a solid big fat green candle pushing for the breakout to blow through that supply zone. And that is what we have here on PayPal. I want to see the confirmation with the follow-through candle here. But that's promising to see that we got a nice big fat buying volume candle push through. So we will see whether that momentum sustains tomorrow, because that is a fresh bull flag breakout we've got going on there. Curious what this measuring tool thing would track and flag on it. So it's still trading that longer term one, it looks like. It's also seeing this rising wedge, so that is a valid point to kind of watch that level there. Seeing on the 1 hour. Check real quick and make sure I don't have a meeting in a moment, because I got a little alert. No, I'm good. Okay, sorry. So yeah, rising wedge, measured move, bull flag. We're gonna keep watching that rising wedge. Make sure we don't reject back under that resistance level, and then we'll go from there on PayPal. But yeah, being careful about trading or chasing here, because I am still in my runners from the previous trade. I'd like to see consolidation and the confirmation of the breakout with the follow through candle before entering something new there. Hood is another one that we mentioned a few minutes ago. That looks like it's really just prepping for another breakout here. So if you look at it on the daily, this ties back with what I was mentioning on the stream either yesterday or the day before, I can't recall, so I apologize, but about crypto movement driving a lot of the hype and movement with Hood, because kind of the news came out this morning as well that there's like $80 billion in the month of November traded on crypto alone on Robinhood. So that's good. That's a big thing, especially if you looked at the charts for Bitcoin and Hood, you'll see that alignment and where some of the overlap is coming from. IWM, definitely going to look at that because I entered some fresh calls on this setup today. They went about 20% gains already just with the intraday move. And that's why it's really important to pick the right contracts whenever you're doing swing trades or even intraday trades, because you can get in calls that aren't the right contract, not the right Greeks, not the right overall supported movement, and even though it moves in the favor of your calls, you can still like trade flat, have lacking gains. Let's see, who is this? Agony. Yeah, I haven't talked about Viking Therapeutics. I'll pull it up here in just a second and look at it. But as of right now, IWM, that's a measured move if we can sustain and push for a fresh breakout. Again, I'd like to see a confirmation candle push and breakout with this bullish pennant, but what I did see on IWM was a lot of bullish flow movement earlier on today around the time that I was looking for entry. So when I saw those calls from the whales moving, and not just like open interest buying volume, like that's not really a fair interpretation to give you a good indication of how to enter something or why you should enter something. So if you see high open interest on call strikes for a certain date, that's not really indicative of anything. But it confirmed and aligned with the setup. So some of the whales seem to be trading the same setup positioning here. So I went ahead and started phasing into the position before the confirmed breakout. Viking Therapeutics. I started easing into some longer term calls on this, and it looks like we're okay as of right now. So what you'll see here on Viking Therapeutics, look, it's holding the support. So similar thing here. There's a lot of very interesting movement going on with the Viking Therapeutic option chain, and I haven't traded this one a ton over the last year. That being said, I do know that when it comes off these levels and you've got positive buying volume and momentum that comes with it, it typically rips off of the level. So I got in a very small cheap position as of right now to see how this holds. Even if it pulls back and retests these lows, my feelings aren't hurt. It's a phase in for me. So I entered a very light position and gave myself room if I need to add to position. Keep in mind when I do that, the intent is not to try to average down to save a trade that was a poor trade to begin with. It's more going in with the strategy and a plan to trade accordingly that way. If you go in with the plan like that, that's safe, smart trading. You can always phase in, phase out accordingly. Yeah, let me look at sound and then I'll show you RoboBlocks, which reminds me, Chris, I don't know if you're listening, but I need to pull the data and show you for RoboBlocks what I was seeing. Keep in mind too that Kathy Wood and ARK, not to say that her track record and reputation is great because we all know how she sold NVDA where she did, but ARK and several other large institutional firms did dump a lot of their RoboBlock shares recently. So let me pull up sound because we are actively in a trade on that. And look at this awesome breakout yet again. I love it. Increasing buying volume, so that is awesome. What's the weekly look like on sound? Oh yeah, if this thing continues, man, we entered calls down here and they are just steady ripping. I don't even know what they're at today. I haven't kept up with them because that's a bad habit of mine, is not keeping up with them once I've covered my cost basis. So it looks like even the March calls, they're up nicely. Even some December runner calls I've got leaving as stragglers, but SoFi and Sound both are just steady ripping on all the trades that we've been taking. So that's looking good. Sound, I'd be looking for more bullish continuation here based off that breakout, and that volume is looking solid. Also keep in mind that Sound gets a lot of hype and AI sympathy. So if NVIDIA starts getting bullish and pushes for more of a breakout, you're going to see AI rip with that. Same thing with any other AI sympathy stocks. It's going to be looking good. So let me check something real quick. I'm not gonna look at DraftKings, but I will look at Roblox and show you what is going on there from a technical standpoint. And then Chris, I'll kick you that data here in a little bit, if I can try to remember. So Roblox, there's like a lot of levels marked down here. I need to clean those up a bit because it's kind of overwhelming to look at, to be honest. So Roblox, if I look at the weekly here, you can see we're trying to push for a breakout at this current level. We've got a bit of a bull flag breakout going on here, so that's looking good. Like, I like the chart setup from a pure technical standpoint. I'm just treading cautiously about my entry. It's been on my list, but I wanted to see confirmation with a bullish buying volume to push up higher, because there is also a lingering gap over here, which I'm not sure why it's not marked still, but we still have plenty of movement range here before we hit this gap to where this one can still be a profitable trade potentially. So knowing that gap is there, I look at stuff like that because I wouldn't want to enter calls knowing a gap was in like $2 or $3 range, because that puts a really low head above me to where maybe I can make some gains off a $1 to $2 move on a stock like this, depending on the type of option I pursued on it. But you have to be careful, because if you've got something that can hit like a roadblock above overhead, if you get into calls and it can't make it through the roadblock, you're kind of stuck in a position where you have to decide whether you want to take a loss if it trades flat and theta burns the premium, or move elsewhere. We also have this downside gap lingering here on Roblox, but like I said, what has me held up on this is the institutional sell-off that's been going on, as well as insiders have been dumping shares heavy, especially within their legal team and finance team for some reason. So I haven't had time to fully investigate why. It's been on my list to actively watch for a potential trade setup for a while now. So again, keep an eye on it. For me, there's a lot of risk in this zone to try to trade until we've got confirmation, but also while it's appealing because the setup there, like I mentioned for others, if there's high risk on both of them and you also have this massive bear flag going on here, if there's high risk and it's unclear whether or not something can hold or sustain a breakout, if there's other things I can trade with my capital that have less risk exposure and potential gains similar or greater, I'm going to trade the other things and patiently wait until the setup matures a bit on something like this. So definitely not saying don't trade it by any means, because like I said, I've been watching this one, trade calls on it for a while now, but I want to see what happens here, and I want to see what happens with the underlying movement with the whales behind the scenes. So that's Roblox. Let me pull up. Oh no, my other laptop crapped out again, installed. Let me reboot it while we're doing this. The computer for my desktop for the stream still going to be streaming just fine. So what I can do is I can bust out my Discord app on my phone and actively see what's going on there. Target and GameStop. Absolutely, we will look at GameStop because I love me some GameStop because I'm just a ape like that and I can't help it. GameStop, right? Like I was saying, I've been watching this because I actually want to buy either shares or some more swing calls. I started easing into some swing calls. Let me do this real quick. So GameStop, as of right now, they've got earnings coming up next week, and I wouldn't be surprised. You can see it's holding that zone as of right now. It bounced off that support. I'll be curious to see if it can hold this support again. I'm gonna go ahead and change this to a major support because it's had multiple retests at this point, but I want to see if it bounces. Like, honestly, if I see a bounce even like on the 5 or 15 minute on that 2644 level, I might even go heavy into some shorter dated options, knowing good and well that if I hold those through earnings, IV crush is a potential risk on it. But also, if the setup makes sense, I can enter on before and exit on before earnings and benefit from the IV that spikes and then crashes. So I will either trade shares, more calls, or I might sell cash secured puts against it to collect the premium. And then, like, worst case scenario, if I get a sign for cheap, I'm down. I'll hold me some GameStop. But yeah, that's what we got. So yeah, the $28 swings, I started phasing into those analyzers, so I'm still in those and will stay in those because I like the setup on GameStop overall. When you look at it on the weekly time frame, this thing is potentially forming another cup and handle and wants to rip, and we all know how much it can rip when it does. So keep in mind too, if GameStop announces or pulls out anything in their earnings call, or and just formal announcements similar to what they did in 2021 with their ties to crypto, it's going to be a parabolic catalyst for GameStop yet again. I'm not saying like a short squeeze catalyst like what we saw in 2021, but multiple times since then we've seen big rips on GameStop because we know how it moves once the hype builds. But with crypto getting hype and visibility again, if you see a move start to take place on this and some news comes out, that's going to be a positive catalyst to rip it higher. So the premiums are high. I'm not going to lie to you about that with GameStop. Risk to rewards got to make sense. So, man, Tony, I know you're saying you want to follow me on a cash secured put for GME, but knowing the type of stocks you trade and knowing your current comfort level with certain types of trading in stocks, I must say GME ain't for you, dude. Like, it's going to be one of those that you really just got to be chill with volatility and movement and a bit of chaos, similar to what we experienced on the crypto stock. So you do what you want to do too, but as far as like more conservative cash secured put stocks, there's several others I've been tracking. I plan on kind of doing some alert style trading for selling premiums here soon. I've just been planning. So that's what's concerning me. You can't do that in your IRA. You can't be trading something highly volatile and crazy like GameStop in your IRA, dude. Like, be careful. Don't be crazy. Actually, you can trade it wherever you want. Just saying, be careful, because GameStop can also crap down to like the sub 20 level on people here, which wouldn't hurt my feelings because I will buy that dip up. I think in the online space they're gonna have a lot of movement in the coming year or two. So, what's the other tickers? Let me check and make sure I got this reopened, because I want to make sure I cover all the tickers that people are requesting. I got a few minutes left. Let's see. Applied, yeah, it's breaking out. Intel, we're watching that for sure. We glanced at Tesla. Everything's looking a little red in after hours from big tech standpoint, which that's good. That's healthy overall because we've had such big rips on a lot of things this week. So healthy retracement's a good thing. It looks like some of the non-semiconductor, but like those wartime stocks are rocking a bit right now too. Let me click over here and check something real quick because I want to make sure that I make y'all aware of this if it is happening. And if while I'm looking this up, if there's any other tickers y'all are wanting me to pull up to, just let me know. Also, if you don't mind, please hit the like and subscribe button. Not to sound cliche, but if you find value in this, please do. That way I know it's worth it. And that I'm not sitting here talking to myself. So, looking over here real quick on EV. ChargePoint have earnings today? I'm gonna get a notification on ChargePoint. When did they have earnings? Is it today? Yep, sure enough. So, looks like ChargePoint's getting some after hours volatile movement. Earnings is so interesting to me, and I've explained that to several of y'all why I usually don't trade earnings directly on a lot of things nowadays, but how many times do you see people super hype something like NVDA and they trade short dated calls, and then earnings we see a sell off, and then here you are where ChargePoint technically misses on their earnings, but then beats on revenue here, and it rips. So it's earnings are like a crapshoot. It's almost pure gambling. Normally I won't trade any earnings directly. I'll just trade sympathy tickers that are in the same space that get an impact off of it. So I just happened to see ChargePoint over here on the other screen was moving. Yes, I'll do Target for you for sure. Sorry, my laptop just came back up too. So you got to risk it for the biscuit. Tony says, yeah, you do, dude. You do. But risk I'm sorry. You'll still hear me, right? Just making sure I'm not losing my mind here. I think it's this computer. Like I said, I need to build out a fresh one. Is it a good time to get GME stock? You said it could rip alongside contracts. Alright, we're back. Yeah, there was a typo involved in that situation as well. Y'all ignore that and we'll carry on. So, somebody want to confirm that I'm still back up and running at this point. If so, throw up some little emojis or something on the actual live stream itself, or throw it over here. Still frozen? You're frozen on my end. I hear and see you. Morehead says we're frozen. Others say I'm live. Hear you though. Was it frozen or was hold up? Was it frozen or was I on the screen to look at charts and I hadn't typed it in? Okay, y'all can hear me. My bad. I had clicked this and I was talking, but I wasn't moving my mouse, and therefore you thought it was froze. My bad. That's on me. Poor live stream. And now there's 12 people in here because this dude's like doesn't know what he's doing apparently, right? So, what I was saying, I don't know if y'all heard me or not, but who wants some ethical trading, degen worthy, meme worthy shirts and hats and coffee cups and stuff like that? If that's something that everybody'd be down to start getting into and getting some, let me know, and I'll try to make it a point to actually start putting some of that stuff together and put it on a website or something so we can get it. But y'all know I'll wear it. But I don't want to be the only person wearing some ethical trading apparel. But you need a 20 gameplay. Matt, you played with like 30k earlier today. This dude's slinging 25 grand on Riot calls like an actual full-blown degen. The screen's not frozen, guys. I'm sorry. I keep chilling right there on that screen, and I probably shouldn't because y'all think it's frozen every time I do it. So, sorry. I'm going to jump back over to some of these stocks instead of just rambling about the nonsense, meme-worthy apparel. I'm just going to do the thing, post it, and y'all are going to all buy people ethical trading meme shirts and meme hats for Christmas, because that's what I'm going to give all my friends and family. It'd be like, I paid for that with crypto. Don't you just say crypto? But let's see, what other Target. Don't want to forget Target for you. So like I told you, not TGGT, sorry. I can't type. Yeah, Tony, the dude had like his screenshots up there. He had like $20-something thousand tied up on his Riot like semi-short dated calls earlier today, and he came out with 4K profit, so I give him that. But he sat there, wrote them from green to red like 4 times, and then he finally sold them, and then Riot ripped like a whole dollar after that. So don't look back at it, Matt. Don't look back. So Target right now, what we got? Target had that huge, massive gap down with earnings based off of the guidance for the holiday season. I don't know about y'all. I know that my wife loves some Target. My kids are basically like, can we go to Target? Can we go to Target? Can we go to Target? So, it's not like they're just like dying a business within certain criteria, but they did take that big drop. There's a lot of risk in both directions here, because you do have this downside gap that from that gap up that we never filled. So that is there. It also, though, like, that was a huge drop for Target there off their earnings. So, I mean, if we can see a bounce, especially if it can get above this level right here at 133, I might swing some long calls on it. That reminds me as well, I want to look at ELF for all the reasons we recently talked about. Damn, Analyzer, I think it was you. Like, me and you both were kind of frustrated and kicking ourselves for not re-entering calls, especially on this freaking dip right here. That would have been amazing when it tagged $100, because it's already up $36 from there. But learning thoughts on stock plus contracts to follow. Yeah, I'm sorry, the distracted. Yeah, I'll circle back on GameStop here in just a second for you. I talked through that. I don't know if you joined a little late, but I did talk through GameStop and like overall the chart setup and what I'm looking for there. It can GameStop, so keep in mind with earnings next week, it could have earnings and it could drop hard. For me, GameStop, I kind of, maybe it's the 2021 era and the kind of AMC GameStop realm that I rode through and got into stock trading with, and maybe I've got some overall bias and sentiment because of that with GME, but overall GameStop does have a bullish setup going on its chart right now, so I might get in some shares. The thing with shares on GameStop is that, like, worst case scenario, you can sell covered calls on them and make a killing into earnings and stuff like that, just because the hype and the expected volatile moves is huge. So yesterday you talked about cash secure puts on. Yeah, Tony, I did. I'm gonna, instead of going into the will strategy and kind of covered calls and cash secured puts here though on this one, just because I'm about to wrap up here in a minute, I will try to do a separate session Let me see if I've got any early morning meetings tomorrow. If I don't, then I might try to do it in pre-market for y'all. Check real quick as I'm looking at ELF here, but ELF is looking good. I mean, if you're comfortable with more expensive contracts on something, because ELF Beauty contracts are insane, but for those of you that haven't heard the kind of conversation or the story yet, I actually had to ask my wife back in like October, mid to late October, hey, I saw some ELF Beauty stuff in the bathroom. I know you get that for our girls. So, yeah, I'll look at Tiger too, Matt. Is ELF Beauty, like, you feel like that people buy that a lot? So, like, my wife is like my gauge indicator for several stock trades at this point, whether it's Starbucks or ELF. But she's like, yeah, I like it. It's actually really good for the price and everything and quality. So, it's down big right now. And it's got a nice little setup off that same support range that it was in here before it moved higher. So I'm going to be looking, to maybe just go ahead and just get over the idea that the contracts are going to be expensive because the trading range of ELF over the last year. And I might enter me some long swing calls on it anyways for like maybe June 2025. God, they're just so expensive, and for the same reasons I have a hard time trading NVDA and Tesla options for a safe time horizon, I have a really hard time when I look at ELF options for that same reason, just because it's like $1,200 to $2,000 per contract in order to get out there far enough to be safe in a position. So I might not trade ELF options after all. Who knows? Maybe I'll buy some ELF shares and trade that and just ride it out and see what happens. I could always sell, I guess, cash or covered calls against the shares and collect that large premium as a seller if I wanted to. So that is the benefit on it. So let me see real quick. Let me pull up Tiger for you. Let's see, Tiger. So Tiger, same thing. Like I mentioned whenever we got in this one's a bit of a different trade for multiple things, or multiple reasons. There was a lot of really odd bullish movement with the flows on Tiger, so that was part of this makes sense to jump in, but also the setup here is starting to break out of a downtrend, or attempting to, and it's getting tighter and tighter. So you can see we've got this breakout here. So that's promising. Honestly, I would love to see a back test here of this breakout of the trend, especially if it bounces right there. You could see a very big volatile move, it looks like, off that range with Tiger to where we do something like that. I would be looking for that move initially, and then from there I would look for the next levels as the price targets is kind of where I would go with it. But Tiger's a very interesting one just because it seems to have a very volatile range. Yeah, Tony's kicking himself for not sticking with Walmart. Walmart's one of those ones you're either long or you're not. I wouldn't actively trade Walmart, but I would probably long it, and you could will it if you really want to. Let's see, we did Tiger. Real quick, and then I'll wrap it up. I'm gonna look at Riot and. Yeah, check out Riot. So, like, everybody's freaking out over crypto falling back a little bit. Look, Riot is holding that zone, and Riot's actually playing out exactly from a technical standpoint what we would have expected. So, as long as it holds above that 1284 range, it's going to end up ripping higher, especially if crypto gets a strong push this week for some reason. It's going to really rip. A lot of these mining stocks, and for those of you that don't know, Riot's got like a large mining operation here in central Texas. I shouldn't say here. I'm in North Texas, but Riot has got a strong, large, actual farm of Bitcoin miners here in Texas, and Mars is also another good one. I forget where their operations are at, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a Texan and I want to support Riot, but also their cost per Bitcoin is super low. So Matt says he's jumping back into Riot after he locked his $4,000 gain on his absurd amount of, I think he had like 100 contracts. That's bad example, Matt. That's not how we trade, dude. That is not proper risk to reward ratio for the account size for most people. But degen's gonna degen, so you do what you do. Maybe I make a Riot specific meme that goes on a shirt, and I'm gonna put Matt's profile picture on it. Let's see. So Mara, same thing. Look, we're looking for a breakout above that resistance level. You can see it's building momentum yet again here. It's actually got another bull flag going on. Okay. Recency bias. Hey, so Tony, there's recency bias, and then there's riding the continuation of the existing move. So, like, I'm just saying, like, I'm not exiting right now. If anything, like me and Chris were talking about this morning, like, a lot of us that are big on crypto and that know what movement is to follow, especially once alt season kicks, it's really hard right now to not just go full port on several of my accounts with a lot of crypto stocks for like June and further calls, because they're going to rip and blow out and go parabolic. And I mean, risk to reward wise, especially once people start taking gains off of some of those big tech tickers after we get past what everyone's going to call the Santa rally, if we get one, we'll get a pullback. Ooh, CleanSpark's getting some motion and some movement. Hold on, I gotta jump over since we're talking about crypto stocks real quick and the motion we're seeing on this behind the scenes. Okay. So I'm still in my calls on CleanSpark, and it looks like it actually did fill the gap already. It sure did. Yeah, I got sidetracked with the other trades and didn't even notice we filled the gap. So yeah, look for CleanSpark to do the same thing. Like, not from a recency bias standpoint, like entering this, but more so of like the trade still exists. So you've got two styles of trading you can take with a lot of these setups. Either you can do the in and out type thing like Matt tends to do, but he's pretty successful with it because he does the in and out, but he also sits in them a bit where he needs to. Whereas I think that, like, especially when you're trying to kind of get a vibe and feel things going, I feel like me watching live makes me less efficient. Nah, it'll. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I think that especially when you're trying to get your foundation and you're trying to understand certain things, and you're super analytical, it seems like too. So I think that you're kind of overanalyzing some things, and then you end up over trading multiple times in the same day or within the same couple of days on the same setup because you talk yourself out of the setup that you were in, even though you're still riding the same setup and try to re-enter it. It's one thing to do that and to bail on something and then try to re-enter right at a level of resistance. Like I think we talked about on, I forget what the other stock was that you got in and then it hit resistance and rejected hard. But same thing on other things. Like that's why I look at the upside and downside. If we see an overhead there that we could bounce off a resistance level and fall, I'm really careful about entering a long position there. That being said, you've got a lot of catalyst in motion here on a lot of these crypto stocks, so I'm less concerned about this overhead here on like something like CleanSpark or Mara or Riot because they do have a big push coming. So not super worried about those, whereas some of the other tickers might get slapped down and not have something to recover from. So let's see, I've talked through I think most of these stocks that people wanted. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody over on Bullish Raid real quick that asked for a ticker. Let's see, got everybody's over here talking about Bitcoin going to 100k this month. Absolutely. Let's see it go to that. If you haven't yet, also, if anybody wants to get in, you can go over on Phantom Wallet and get in on the ethical trading token on the Solana blockchain while it's still cheap, because there may or may not be someone that's going to throw a bunch of capital at that at some point to add liquidity. So just a heads up that it's going to get momentum, and if any of y'all sells and rugs after I throw capital at it, you're mean. But like regardless, like you do what you do. So I will I'll definitely be adding more liquidity and capital to Ethical X Trading AI token, which is the coin that I launched this past week on Solana blockchain. I'm trying to be careful and conservative about adding capital too fast, because when you add capital and liquidity too fast like that, it can attract what they call like basically altcoin snipers that will go out there and they will, here I'll show y'all kind of what's going on with it right now. They will attract different people that basically will sit out there and just look for new coins at launch, similar to what actually Moorhead's been doing, where he's buying in on some of those, but he's buying it and then he's selling it within that 2-hour time window most of the time. But there's actually people out there that will jump in on somebody's newly launched coin and they will throw in tons of capital on it, and then as soon as they get people chasing it and entering it, they pull the rug, and that's where you get those pump and dumps from. But I'm trying to be very careful to not cause that to happen from a perspective over here, and I don't want people to think that that's what ethical trading is, because ethical trading AI token, because ultimately, like, this is going to be a long-term crypto project for me. I've got some really innovative and good ideas to scale and grow it as well that I haven't mentioned to y'all yet. So stay tuned on that in the coming weeks and months. But let's just say that from a community driven basis and platform, like, this is going to be something cool to get on. I don't anticipate to be like a Doge or a Pepe or anything like that. That's not the intent, but more so using the driver from this. Like, comment, and subscribe, analyzer. Man, thank you. Yeah, like he said, like, comment, subscribe, share the links with your friends if y'all want for the YouTube streams as well, because they are live, or I'm sorry, after they're live, they're actually publicly available on YouTube as well. So you can actually share those and watch them after the fact if you want. If y'all do end up going out here and looking at this on Deck Screener, which I'm gonna drop it in the chat just in case somebody wants to keep an eye on it. Please do feel free to hit it with a rocket, fire, something. Don't give me a shit emoji, please, or a red flag, because obviously that's not that. But I've even waited on boosting it on Deck Screener at this point, because I don't want to boost it and it get flagged and get attention of some of those spammers, and they try to jump in and pump and dump it. So still going to be adding liquidity here, and actually put in a tiny percentage of the liquidity I plan on adding. Some of y'all know how much my crypto holdings are. I've got plenty of additional crypto I can throw at it within the Solana realm, so that would be a more effective use, I think, to scale and grow it. But big things coming for ethical trading as well in the coming months. Like I said, I do want to launch kind of some merchandise type stuff, just because from my standpoint, ethical trading is not, it's not about like making money from a standpoint of like subscriptions and subscribers and all that crap. It's more about driving a community and fostering growth and supporting one another within the trading community. I mean, kind of like the token says here, right? So whether it's stock and crypto, whatever it is, but helping traders of various skill levels kind of come together. I'm a big person on inclusive leadership as well, and diversity and inclusivity. So it's kind of cool for me, and I get more excited and motivated seeing an ethical trading Discord, for instance, or even Bullish Raid or any of the other Discords that I've been a part of over the years, to see so many different people from various different backgrounds kind of coming together and learning together and laughing, and that motivates me and drives me and gets me excited. So on that note, getting sentimental, getting off track, talking things non-stock and crypto, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today. Not looking at DraftKings, Tony. I'll wrap up. If there's any other stuff that y'all want me to look at, let me know. I'll take a look at tomorrow, and I'll either hit it on live stream or I will just drop the charts for you. But yeah, I hope everyone has a great night. Spend some time with your family and friends, and we'll be back at tomorrow. Thanks all.